Hello there, everybody. Welcome back. There's another video on Halloween night. Basically, we're going to do some more debunking of false claims against pagans and against holidays and events. Let's look at some more stuff. Okay, now we're looking at Christmas and Saturnalia, and they're going to show how there's no such relation, but we're going to see so far a lot of these different memes make false claims already, assuming that they're the same, when in fact they're not. The only thing they have in common is that they're both on winter solstice. That doesn't mean they're the same. And not only that, if you actually look into the true facts about Christmas, actually it borrows very little from Saturnalia and takes a lot of it from Christian and Hebraic and secular sources, not pagan sources. It's pretty much anti-pagan in truth. Something all you Hebraics out there don't know what you're talking about. There's only partial roots. There's only things like this that only make certain claims, but the thing is, even that understands it has limited understanding. But the truth of the matter is there's no such thing, due to the fact that multiple different sources don't say anything about that. And this is crap, because no one talks about it. Really, you can't talk about something if it's not true. First of all, since there's a lot of errors and contradictions to this, due to the fact this is pagan, this is Hebraic and secular, no such relation. Any claim of this connection doesn't hold up historically, factually, or realistically. Only someone who basically makes stuff up would ever make this claim. Like, we go into the end of the Matrix. It's only false, because if a person makes something like this, they're in the Matrix, because they're ignoring and they're refuting themselves by their own ignorance. And there's a big fat lie right here. Nimrod. Nimrod has no connection to anything. He's a biblical Hebraic mytho character. And he's basically of the Hebrew fiction. It has absolutely nothing to do with pagan beliefs or any of their gods or anything like that. And he's not a god either. He's a fictitious character of Mesopotamian, or really biblical Hebraic fiction of Mesopotamia. He is not, and not only that, the source for that is a false source called Two Babylons from Alexander Hislop, or Pislop, a liar who made shit up in the 1850s, who's been thoroughly debunked and destroyed. And Semiramis has nothing to do with Nimrod either. Those two characters have absolutely no connection to each other, biblically and non-biblically. Semiramis is a Assyrian character who has no such relation to Nimrod, and she's a Assyrian queen of the real world, with some mythos to her. Nimrod, however, is based off Nebuchadnezzar, and is a hunter fiction character like Abraham, his contemporary in Terah, and like Noah, and Moses, and Adam, and Yahweh, etc., of the Iron Age. There's no such relation to paganism ever. A lot of Hebraics like to make this false claim because they're ignorant as fuck, and they're a liar. There's no legend at all. This claim has been destroyed and exposed long ago. And now it's going to be right now. There's nothing, and also another problem is there's nothing in Egyptian or Kemetic beliefs that show this. There's no real holidays of Egyptian. All sources show quite the exact opposite. Osiris or Isis, basically, are gods, basically, but they have no relation to Christmas or anything of the winter solstice. That's simply incorrect and wishful thinking, and misusage. Here in the Roman Empire, this is only partially true because of Saturnalia, but again, Saturnalia has very little to do with Christmas, due to the fact it's similar on a winter solstice time, but it's also of different times. Christmas is on the 25th, Saturnalia is on the 23rd and the 17th. Big difference. Also, the fact is that there's no Santa Claus. People claim Saturn is similar to Santa, but they're not related really if you look closely. Linguistically as well as factually, they're different. In fact, the character Santa comes from St. Nicholas, someone very, very different. It's only assumed that because of people who are ignorant and don't make really good research or any sense. Okay, and there's another problem with that, okay? Horus doesn't have anything to do with it either. That claim's been debunked also from Zeitgeist. Dionysus has very little to do with that. Tammuz has absolutely nothing to do with that. That claim comes from Hislop, who's been proven wrong billions of times. Hercules, no, there's no such relation to that, because there's nothing that shows his birth basically is nowhere, and actually it's in Greek tradition and background, it's actually somewhere out in the summer or spring. Perseus, no. Helios, no. Jupiter and Paul, no. Now you're just making claims up. Those characters have absolutely nothing to do. They never had a birth. And not only that, they don't have a birthday on this one since they're eternal. And not only that, the fact is there's no such relation to Christmas either. That claim is completely made up on the spot with no facts or truth connected. And this claim doesn't really talk about either, even though a lot of people like to claim that Jeremiah 10:1-4 has something to do about Christmas, but it doesn't actually. If you look closely at the words, it's not a resemblance of a Christmas tree. It talks about trees that are used in the Levant in the biblical and pre-biblical times. And it has absolutely nothing to do with any of these earlier. It's actually anti-pagan, it's anti-Gentile, it's of Hebrew fiction mythos, and actually it's referring to the Canaanites as well as the Hebrews cutting down trees to Yahweh and Asherah, very different gods. Nothing like that of the ones in Europe or anywhere else. Also, if you read closely in 1 Kings chapter 6 and 7, there actually is the trees that are mentioned, like those in Jeremiah, are actually similar to those in 1 Kings chapter 6 and 7 and 8. They have similar trees and symbols in the culture, because tree adoration with the divine was a common thing throughout the world. It doesn't mean they're all the same. They're absolutely different. They're very different, completely different. The big different connections is actually quite clear. So there's no such relations at all. And there's a whole lot more to this too. This is a stupid false video. Not video, but a stupid false site of crap that has no matrix to it at all. And this person just demonstrated once again they are in the matrix and they're ignorant as hell. Moving on. There's no esoteric meaning to Christmas either. That's just a wishful false claim by people who are ignorant as heck. Another video might be done on this later on, but right now, no. There's no such relation as we've shown so far. Other points and pieces will be shown out here later, too, as well. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll be on to you in the next video. Thank you.